such an honor to see so many champions in one place. All of you have been selected to participate in the Kumite.
What if we don't win?
You really want to know? My undefeated champion. This is Draco.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 martial arts adventure film, The Last Kumite. The film is co-written and directed by Ross W. Clarkson, and it stars Mathis Landwehr, Matthias Hughes, Kurt McKinney, Billy Blanks, Cynthia Rothrock, Michael Creasy, David Kurzhall. The list goes on. I mean, there's so many names that you'll recognise here who are martial arts legends from the 80s and the 90s. And the film focuses on Mathis Landwehr's character, Michael Rivers. He's a martial arts champion. He's just won a tournament. He is very, very skilled, and he's approached by Matthias Hughes' character, Ron Hall, who runs essentially an illegal martial arts tournament, a Kumite, and he invites him to take part, and the winner of this tournament will get $1 million. He respectfully declines and heads off home and finds that this nasty Ron Hall has kidnapped his daughter in order to force him to take part in the tournament. When he gets there, there is a lot of other martial artists from all over the world, some that came willingly and some that had to be persuaded by having family members kidnapped. Then the tournament takes place and he has to fight for survival in order to get his daughter back. Right. What are my thoughts on The Last Kumite? Well, this was, and is, if you like, a crowd-funded film, I believe. Even I seem to remember getting an email when this film was kind of in its development stage. I remember getting an email asking to, possibly provide funds and get involved and get a credit on the movie, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't get involved because, I couldn't really afford it, if I'm being particularly honest. I would have loved to. But you will recognise, if you are a YouTuber and you watch a lot of YouTube, there are certainly, there's David Kurzhall, who's better known on YouTube as the Viking Samurai. He's got quite a prominent role in this film. And Jason Brandt, who has his channel, the So Bad It's Good, where he reviews bad movies. I watch that channel quite a lot. It's quite fun and amusing. He's got a very small part in this film, and he's one of the producers, which tells me, well, I know because I've seen some of his content where he's interviewed people that's been part of this film, so I know he's been heavily involved in it. And then obviously they've managed to get on board many, many martial arts legends from the years gone by. And if you watched any of them in the 80s and 90s, like No Retreat, No Surrender, and so on and so forth, Cynthia Rothrock, Billy Blanks, Kurt McKinney, Matthias Hughes, as well as many others, you will recognise in this film. And it's really lovely to see many of them because I haven't seen many of them for years. And it is quite a lot of fun to watch this film. However, there are issues here with this film. Now, it is very, very clearly a love letter to the martial arts of the eras that I've mentioned, the 80s and the 90s. And obviously, movies like Bloodsport. It's even got, very familiar music from the Bloodsport movie. And it's got obviously the same feel of that movie. However, it might sound a bit of a contradiction here, but it feels dated, the film. But you also get the impression that that's kind of the point. I think that's what they were aiming for. But at the same time, it doesn't feel retro, it feels dated. And I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I think if you watch it, you'll understand kind of what I mean. Obviously, with a cast this large of prominent athletes, really, rather than actors, some of the acting leaves a lot to be desired here from some of the performers. The guy that plays the main villain, Draco, whose name, Mike Daruda, I think he's called. While there's nothing wrong with his performance, it's very villainous. It's just way over the top and very, very pantomime. And he's not, for me, on the same level as, other villains that we've seen in films similar to this, from Kickboxer and the original Bloodsport. And it just doesn't work on that level. He never really feels like he's an impossible task to kind of beat. But another issue of the film is it's a good hour into the film before we even see the first tournament match. And that's not to say that the hour leading up to that is boring or dull or anything. It's just not crammed full of martial arts. It's more setup and introduction of characters and stuff, which is fine, which is fair enough. Because I'm actually quite glad that certainly Kurt McKinney, who plays a character called Damon Spears here, who you may remember from No Retreat, No Surrender, he's in the film, and he's got actually quite a prominent part, which I'm really, really pleased about. And there's a couple of others as well that have quite large parts that you don't expect them to. So they kind of share the responsibility, if you like. But the main character here is this Michael Rivers. And he's obviously very, very skilled at martial arts, but unfortunately, for me, he lacks the look and charisma of to kind of carry a film like this. He's no Van Damme, he's no Chuck Norris. He doesn't carry himself or have that kind of charisma that previous martial arts stars kind of have. But saying that, you can't knock his martial arts ability because he's very, very good indeed. And the martial arts on display here, when you get to it, is done fantastically well, as you would expect. I mean, this is essentially a martial arts movie, and it's obviously a throwback to the martial arts movies of years gone by, and it nails that part of the film actually quite well. You get the music montages that go along with the athletes training, the martial artists training. You've got coaches doing this, that, and the other, and inspiring music playing over the top of it, and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of nails the look and the feel of the films that came years before. But at the same time, it doesn't kind of capture that essence of being retro and modern at the same time. And I think that's really what it needed to do. I think it needed to try and feel modern and fresh, but also kind of tip its hat to what's come in the past. It almost feels like, with this being a new film, if you went back in time and showed this to somebody in 1992, they would think it was made in 1992. There's nothing that kind of stands it apart from the films of those days, and comparing it to the films that are made today, it doesn't feel like it's crammed full of modern sensibilities or just the way modern martial art films are made, for the most part. But I'm being a little bit overcritical there. I mean, it really is quite a fun time if you like watching martial arts movies, and and any of those names that you recognise in that cast list. If you were a big fan of those movies back in the day, you're really going to be in hog heaven here. You're going to enjoy this. You're going to enjoy spotting all the people that you might recognise, because believe me, that's part of the fun of this film, is going through the cast list, looking at the faces when you're watching it and saying, "Oh God, I know that is. I remember him from that film. I remember him from this film." And it's definitely a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, check this one out, guys. If you're a fan of action films and martial arts films, I don't think you'll be too disappointed. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll be back, of course, with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.